Okay, so as you see from the title of this, I've recently finished Crisis Core Reunion, and by that I mean I finished it uh, a couple days ago, so I'm a little late on this, but I had some life stuff going on, kind of kept me from making the video when I wanted to. However, before we get into this video, shout out W Energy. I am partnered with them. If you go to w.gg, use code BIGYAG in all capitals, you'll get 10% off your order, and I will get a percentage of that. So you should go use it. It'll help me out. But also, I gotta say, I do prefer this over GamerSupps, the few bits of it I've had. My recommendation is Galaxy Grenade. It's my personal favorite flavor. But with that being said, let's get into Crisis Core. Uh, so, before talking about the reunion, the remake, remaster, whatever they want to call it, um, big fan of the original game. It's the first Final Fantasy I played, and it is my favorite Final Fantasy game. I've gone through the trouble of getting this working again to play this, just for them to, like, a week or two later announce Crisis Core Reunion. So I was like, oh, well, damn, guess I'm gonna wait. So what I did, um, I've played through the original like two times. I played it once as a kid. I played it once as a teenager. Great game through and through. Solid experience. I love this game. It is such a good game. Such a good story. Music's really good. Gameplay's good. No real complaints with it. Uh, so it was nice going into Reunion, and seeing that most of it's pretty much all still there. They really only changed some quality of life stuff. They changed a few lines of dialogues, like a couple words, uh, but overall stays exactly the same as Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, the original one. Really good. But we have a couple blunders. Some of them go into some more spoilery territory, which I'll talk about later on. However, I will say they did revamp combat a little bit, and I think it was actually like a really good change. I like how they revamped the combat. I think it worked very well. I do really like the new combat system. It's not too big of a change, but it is a really good change. Um, they kind of reworked how DMW works a little bit, which that's a nice little mechanic where whenever you get lucky enough on this little slot machine up in like the top left corner, essentially that's what it is. You will have you'll match up like three characters, and when they match, you get to use your special moves, and these are going to be based off characters you meet throughout the game. So when you start the game, I think you have like two unlocked. It might be three. I have like two or three unlocked, and then you unlock the rest as you go through the game. Uh, they did change a few things. Normally, from what I remember, is certain points in the game, certain cutscenes would play, and sometimes when you're going to get this character, the three matching characters, you would have a little cutscene play, and it'd be a little snippet or two of a cutscene you've already seen. It seems like they made some new cutscenes for this, though. I'm all here for that. Because there's definitely some stuff where I'm like, I don't remember this ever being a cutscene in the game. So, whatever. I think it's fine. It gets kind of annoying seeing the same 30 cutscenes played, all the time. But, it's kind of weird because I was like, wait, I don't remember that. Because, like, I streamed a little bit, like the first hour or so of me playing the game. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't really remember this cutscene. I don't remember this ever being a thing. And then we get to like the biggest change you're gonna notice it right away is we have new voice actors for every character. I believe Cloud is voiced by who he's voiced by in remake and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure most of the characters do have their original voice actors from remake, but everyone that's not in remake has a new voice actor. I think everyone's voice actors are fine. Some of them I think did a little bit better than the originals. Besides Zach, Zach Fair's voice actor, his original voice actor was Rick Gomez, and he played the character of Zach perfectly. Zack is kind of meant to be portrayed as, this cool, really naive guy. Uh, he's really naive. He is really energetic. He does get ahead of himself. He does get really excited. However, he's still cool. However, in Crisis Core Reunion, uh, Caleb Pierce voices Zack, and he just sounds like a nerd. Like he sounds like he gets pushed into lockers daily. I think there was like two lines of dialogue he said where I was like, oh, that was like a really good delivery on that. I kind of like this. Maybe it's about to get better. It just never gets better. It does not ever get better. I feel like that was a huge miscast. Uh, and like genuinely, if we're going forward, he has voice roles in the games. They need to replace him. Like he does not voice Zack good at all. He does not do good for the character. Anything like that. Um, Another weird thing that I'm kind of mixed on is once you do get the Buster Sword, you get it about halfway through the game. Uh, Once you get it, they introduce a system where you can press two buttons and you'll enter a defensive stance, and then you can do two attacks that are going to be higher damage and you can't be interrupted while doing them. It kind of just serves as another way to block and as a way to get two attacks in. It's fine, I guess, but what's really like what I'm mixed on with it is they added a feature called the Buster Sword Proficiency, which as you use that stance, you have to use that stance, you have to use those attacks. Your proficiency will go up for you blocking damage and defeating an enemy with those attacks. However, I tried grinding that proficiency up. I think I beat the game with like a 4 proficiency because it was just like it's one of those things where it goes up so slowly where it's like I just don't care to get that proficiency up. I don't see any of the bonuses it can give being better than just not doing it. Like it's such a artificial grind kind of thing like thrown in where it's just like man, I just don't really care to do it. I'm here for the story at this point. I did do a decent amount of side content because I love this game. It's such a good game. Side contents. It's weird. Like already, I'm kind of mixed on it even from the original because how side content works is most of it. There's a few exceptions. Most of it is gonna be you going up to a save point, accessing the missions tab, and then going on a bunch of side quests that'll get harder as you go on. And it's in the same like 6, 7 areas essentially. They're very short missions, but it's just one of those things where it gets real boring after a while. It's really just meant so you can grind and get better items and materia and all that stuff. Uh, Now I will say, uh, remake I'm pretty sure added some new missions, or not remake. Reunion added some new missions. They're kind of weird. I didn't really do any of the new stuff because I have no idea how you unlock it. Uh, because they added some new summons and stuff. I'm pretty sure. At least I don't remember the original having some of these summons in some of these mission sets. They might have had them. Don't remember. But I'm pretty sure they're new additions. My dog is like staring me down. Uh, However, I didn't do any of them, so I can't really speak on them. Uh, Everything looks good in the game. Obviously, it's like a remaster remake kind of deal, made in fucking Unreal Engine. I'm pretty sure is what it was. I think they remade it in Unreal Engine. It might have been Unity. Don't remember off the top of my head either. However, it looks good, plays good. No complaints really there. But I am gonna kind of spoil the game a little bit from here on out to kind of make some points about something. So if you aren't wanting to get spoiled on the game, dip, I guess, because I do need to talk about some of the late game content to kind of prove a point about the voice acting and to kind of wrap up my thoughts on it, I guess. So once you start getting to like the second half of the game, that's when you have to kill Angeal. It's when you have to basically everything starts going wrong that can go wrong, and it's kind of I break the game up into two halves that I dub embrace your dreams and protect your honor. That's kind of how I do it, and that's basically pre-time skip, post-time skip. So everything up to Sephiroth going and learning his truth, and then being like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna fucking murder this village of people, is like the first half of the game to me, and everything after that is that second half. So the build up to it, which is like Angel's death, to that moment is kind of the build up into that second half of the game. That's where you start getting like super emotional stuff, and I think every voice actor kills it, but Zach. Caleb Pierce just does not. He just cannot like do that well. I don't know. Maybe it's like a voice direction thing. Maybe it is just him as a voice actor. But the way he enunciates certain things, the way he puts emphasis on certain words, just doesn't really make sense. And just the way his voice sounds, it does not match the character like at all. So it's kind of a thing where it's like, yeah, there's this really goofy dialogue Zach will say, but Rick Gomez made that goofy dialogue work where it's like, that's a little goofy, but I can overlook it. And then Caleb Pierce, I hear him say the same lines of dialogue, and I'm like, man, this is kind of stupid. Like, that just like the dumbest line of dialogue I've heard in a game in a while. So we get like those issues going. Whatever. It is an older game. It is an older writing style. It was goofy as hell back then, even. There's a lot of lines of dialogue where it's like, yeah, it's a bit goofy. However, Caleb Pierce just does not have the charm to make like any of it work. I'd say like every new voice actor, and Jill especially, he gets like some of the goofiest ass lines for the game, and I feel like the new voice actor made those lines work pretty well. I'd say like he's probably the closest to the original in terms of delivery. I think he did really good. Whoever voiced Nangio. So it's like it's such a shame that the main character, this legendary figure in the story, doesn't get that same treatment. I guess doesn't get that same performance level. Um, like when we get to the end of the game, and it's like this whole battalion from Shinra coming to kill Zack, and you're fighting. That whole last cutscene, uh, just didn't work as well with the new voice actor. Like I went back and I watched the original cutscene again, and I was like, man, that's just such a better performance. That is like such a good way of selling it. Um, like that really made the difference. Like it's such like a fucking it's a huge emotional ending with Zack dying and then passing on the Buster Sword to Cloud, telling him he's gonna be his living legacy. And it starts raining. Cloud does his scream, which shout out the new voice actor. I actually think his end of the game scream was much better than the original one. I'm gonna be real. I do like the new Cloud voice actor a little bit more than the original one. Kind of biased on that one, but it's just like yeah no the new voice actor kind of just brings that scene down a little bit. I still cried like a little bitch though, so I mean, jokes on me. It didn't matter if he brought it down. It still hits hard. Um, it's just one of those things where I think everything about it is really good besides the new voice acting and a few questionable new additions, or it's like you don't have to interact with the Buster Sword proficiency. You can just not do that. and it doesn't really affect anything. But stuff like being able to sprint, the new combat system, um, like everything else works so well, where it's like that's really the only thing I can complain about too much is the voice acting. And even then, it's one of those things where some people might be fine with it. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone say that they were cool with that voice acting. However, everything else about it is really good. Like I didn't experience any issues with the game. It ran perfectly fine on a PlayStation 4. Like, I'm pretty sure it was running at fucking 60 frames on my PlayStation 4. I ain't gonna lie. It definitely felt like it was running at 60 frames. But like it's kind of wild. Uh, like everything else was good. The voice actor is the only complaint I have. The game ran fine. Story's still the same. They don't change anything. Thank God. I would have been real pissed if they did. Um, God, yeah, that's another thing. Like I was leading up to the whole sequence, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna be really upset if they change the ending to reflect remake part. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake's ending. Like if they change that, I'm gonna be upset because this game has such a good iconic ending. And it's like, yeah, okay, I have the means to play the original right here. I could just do that. However, I would rather not have to go to play the original. They should just keep it the same. Uh, and they did, thankfully. They do not throw in any little thing. They even keep in the little thing from the original where once you went through the credits, it played a little intro cutscene to Final Fantasy VII. And it was like, oh yeah, to be continued in Final Fantasy VII. And that was such a cool little detail that they kept that in. That I was cool with that. Like that was a nice little touch. I think it kind of doesn't work because of how different Midgar looks compared to that in the remake. However, it was really well done. I liked it a lot. I think they did a great job with that. Um, so yeah, overall, I think Crisis Core Reunion is like a solid game. Like you should definitely get it if you want to. Um, it is once again, it was my first Final Fantasy game. I got this PlayStation Portable for my birthday. Like I think I was like 7 or 8. I just fucking dropped my PlayStation Portable. However, so yeah, I got this when I was like 7 or 8. Battery pack came out. I got this when I was like 7 or 8, and I had 2 games at the time. I got Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, and then I had got Killzone Liberation. You can guess which game I liked more. So yeah, no, like I think this is a solid game. Yeah, there is the thing of like a lot of people like, oh yeah, don't play this game first because it ruins the original Final Fantasy VII. I disagree. I think it made the impact of that twist in Final Fantasy VII much better. Because then it's like, okay, hang on, what the hell's going on here? What do you mean, like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, hang on, this don't add up. I think that built it up a lot better for me. I don't think I would have cared for the twist otherwise. However, some people disagree. I think they're wrong and that they should feel bad about their lives because I am right and they are not. I am the decider of truth. And as a decider of truth, I say you should buy the game. It's really good. Uh, if you haven't played it yet, what are you doing? Like unironically, it's a great game. Play it. Like go do that now.